They do things their way.
You don't know what they're going to do from one day to the next.
Somebody who just changes the rules.
Pioneer's the word.
When you're that arrogant,
Judge advice.
you've got to be good.
If you believe in something, say it. I believe I'm the best. And I'll tell everybody.
Fierce.
He's nothing but a pig as far as I'm concerned.
Jockey was an accident on legs.
The ultimate showman.
I like pretty things.
He bought razzmatazz.
He was a fiery little guy.
He set the way, and everybody followed.
You can't make a maverick.
I play bloody magic.
It's in your DNA.
Los dardos generan un ambiente único. A día de hoy solo el fútbol goza de mayores audiencias televisivas, pero este deporte tan propio de Mavericks no es un fenómeno moderno.
You have to remember that everybody that has been in a pub in Britain understood about darts.
You could play for free, a game for working class people, but a game of skill that you could get better at, and a game that can produce moments of drama.
It had never been on television. It had never been hardly on film. The only darts that existed on a nationwide basis was the News of the World competition.
Let's go live now to the Alexandra Palace and join Dave Lanning.
Their publicity manager actually persuaded World of Sport to try darts.
Thank you, Dickie. And there it is, the board upon which the News of the World champion is going to win this afternoon.
They used to get 12,000 people to the finals.
Just have a look at the crowd here at Ali Pali.
If you watch the News of the World back, it was just sort of working men straight out of the pub.
There were coachloads of guys, and they all came armed with their local brew. Blokes were walking in with firkins of ale, and they were rip-roaring.
Wow!
ITV were trailblazing, and it made an absolutely incredible impact. Incredible impact.
Yes, Ivor Hodgkinson has done it, and his supporters are going mad.
Darts was the hot topic of the nation. The immediate effect of that first News of the World was that the director was from Yorkshire Television. He went back and said, "This is sensational. We've got to do something about this. This is the new rock and roll."
YTV Indoor League VTR M406 Part 1 Take 1.
Straight, I think, in off. Oh, and the Black Skittles over there. White out his total score. All his score goes for Burton, right from the beginning.
They decided they would do a pub Olympics, not just darts, but all pub games.
Here he goes. That's a better one. That's a flopper. All 9 down.
People all over the country knew how to play skittles and darts and dominoes, and it was something that wasn't alien to them.
Just slipped out for a minute from the biggest bonanza of sporting skill I've ever clapped eyes on. Down here at the Queen's Hotel in Leeds, we've got 60 odd of the best players I've ever seen in my life. None of your Charlton and your Geoffrey Boycotts, mind you. This bunch of lads are kings at those sports you get up and down the land in every pub. There's one fellow who's shown up from Scunthorpe in a 10-gallon Stetson hat, and he's floating coins around in the best game of shove halfpenny I've ever happened across. And there's 2 of the cockiest blokes, students playing table football, as though they were Giles and Bremner. So let's get cracking. We got those 60 in there. The first prize in each game is £100. That's for shove halfpenny, bar billiards, skittles, table football and darts. And remember, all you lots out at Trent, this is real darts on a Yorkshire board. No trebles, no fluky shots, just a hell of a lot of skill.
There I met the producer who was one Sid Waddell.
People would be glued to it in their millions because it was something that they knew about but couldn't perform at that level.
But they didn't believe the viewing figures they got for the darts. And that's how it started.
We did 6 series.
Keep playing until the next time. I'll say that.
How we got away with it, I don't know.
Of course, darts, Britain's most popular indoor sport and probably the most popular participation sport in the country.
That was kind of a weird thing, this sort of indoor sports explosion.
And of course, over a period of time, heroes develop.
The first great character was a little pugnacious Welshman called Alan Evans.
Evans, right? Mixture of competitive, fierce, arrogant.
He was 5 foot odd and used to wear them big platform shoes. He used to walk up the hockey like that. So made me laugh. He'd keep his balance.
He was his own man, and proper Welsh as well. He loved being Welsh.
Alan would say what he wanted. He got banned by the Vídeo for a year for hitting one of the officials.
He wasn't too fond of the English either.
He was a fiery little guy.
If you put him now in the modern era, the interviews would just be gold.
He was cocky and all. He was mouthy. He'd try to put you off.
He opened his mouth quite a lot, but he proved it.
And there's a lot of London fans here today, quite naturally. But now it's young Alan Evans.
It was the News of the World competition, and Alan Evans got to the semi-finals.
Double 16 he needs. Yes! What an unbelievable shot!
Nobody's seen anything like it.
He set the way. You know, he set it out for us, and everybody sort of followed.
What makes Alan Evans such a popular player?
Well, he seems to be a very down-to-earth sort of fella.
How far do you travel to watch him?
Oh, I'm travelling all over the place.
Has he actually got a fan club?
Oh, he's got a fan club, there's no two ways about that.
I often call him Alan Evans's father's pub down in Ferndale.
Oh, John, how are you?
How you know?
What a surprise.
What's all about?
No, he's in Scotland.
I was then writing about darts for The Sun. Somebody wrote in and said, there's this guy, John Lowe, in Derbyshire, who is better than anybody.
Get your hands together, welcome on stage, Mr. John Lowe.
John Lowe had a reputation, no-nonsense type of guy.
John Lowe was the boring one, really, but awfully good.
I'm feeling reasonably confident, but I'm only in the dressing room.
But he was what was known as a money player.
It was £1,500 in money. It's
That's
a good
right.
one to win, you know.
The nickname was Old Stoneface, so the thing is, on TV, I didn't really smile. I was just concentrating on winning the money.
It only looks a small, invaluable trophy, but the prestige and the living that go with it are really good.
I wanted the money, you know, and I don't mind saying that.
He and Alan Evans and Leighton Rees, they went around and they played blokes for big-time dough.
That's how we started. We played for big money. Trophies are nice, but when you get 1,500, they become, what do you do with them?
John Lowe, congratulations. I bet you're going to feel that tonight.
I sure am. I'm going to drink it as well. Thanks a lot.
Well done.
They first went to America in the late 70s and played money races. They were unbeatable.
We did a pro-am on ITV and we invited John Lowe.
I'd love to. Have you any, what days?
First time he'd played on television. He was very smooth, a good player, a major star.
You can go up there and have 20 throws and you won't put a dart outside that 20.
I'd rate John, I would say, just about the best.
212s up there for this world crown.
Yes!
John Lowe is the 1976 Winmau World Master, and England have another world champion.
Mientras John Lowe marcaba el camino, un intrépido adolescente observaba desde la distancia. La evolución de cualquier deporte requiere que haya un verdadero maverick que lo convierta en éxito de masas.
When he marked for me in the World Masters, after it had finished, he shook my hands and said, well done. I said, thanks for marking. And he had a big pair of black shades on, glasses. And I looked at him and he said, you don't know who I am. He said, I'm Eric Bristow. I said, oh yeah. He said, but you will know who I am.
He's the biggest thing ever been in darts. It has to be.
The World Masters champion in 1977, correct?
Correct.
When I first saw Eric Bristow, he was only 18, and he was an upstart.
You were the British Open Masters in 1978?
Correct.
He had self-belief, obviously.
You were playing for England when you were 20 years old?
17.
He was just a born winner.
When you're that arrogant, you've got to be good.
I'll tell you what, my missus watches you on the box, right? She thinks you're a big head.
Someone with more talent than anyone.
Thinks you're conceited. Thinks you're a cocky young man.
He's finished.
Someone with more charisma than anyone.
Hold on.
He just had it all.
Shut your face, pal.
Didn't give a monkey, said what he thought.
If Brains was taxable, you get a rebate.
Bristow was the first really wild, cavalier character.
And what are you going to do with the 2,000 quid, Eric? Nice in time for Christmas, perhaps?
Well, a new pair of socks,
Stuck his fingers up to the world.
I'm me, and I'll fight to win, and I'll win. And that's it.
He just brought a different dynamic to the sport.
I say what I feel,
The casual fan would look and say, who's this flash bugger, you know, throwing up, giving it all the large.
If you believe in something, say it. I believe I'm the best. And I'll tell everybody.
I was like a freak. My dad bought me a dartboard when I was 11. By the time I was 14, I was brilliant.
Okay. You giving?
Yeah.
His father used to take him into a pub when he was 14, 15 and play for money. And he was unbeatable then.
Come on, off you go. First dart team I played for when I was 15, you had to be 18 to go in the pub. It said in the paper, Eric Bristow, 18 next year. Eric Bristow, 18, wins the blocks from singles next year. People used to say, man, how long are you going to be 18 for?
You're talking about how you started in early days, humble beginnings. You're a cockney, you're a street-level guy, you're a roots guy. What I want to know now is how the people that you used to be involved with when you were 17 years old, how they treat you now. I mean, you come into the studio, have an entourage with you. You've got a Rolls Royce standing outside, huh? How can you relate to these people now? How much you earn a year?
More than you, maybe, eh?
Yeah, a lot more than me. How much you earn a year, boy?
How much I earn? Boy, sorry, old man. I earn about as much as my manager permits me to earn.
We both played pairs together and we went in opens together and all that, and we done money racing together. Eric said, I've got to play this guy for a couple of £100. It was in the Mother Hubbard pub in Loughton. So I lived not far from there. Eric said, well, Charles picked me up. The pub was packed, because that's how you got known, money racing. It was packed. So he played this guy, and if Bob would beat him. So he said, well, better give him the money, Bob. I said, what do you mean give him the money? Well, you asked me to pick you up. You wanted to pay him for money, not me. Yeah, he said, I would have went off with you. I said, yeah, but you didn't tell me. I said, we got a problem now, because we ain't got no money, we're going to get our head kicked in here. So he said, I'll go and wind him up, he said, because he was a right wind-up merchant, rude with it as well, cocky and rude. And he wound his bloke up, he said, no, all right, you got lucky, he said, but you ain't played the big fella, you won't get so lucky with him. So he said, double or nothing. So I'm playing this guy, and it was the last leg, and I was a bit behind. So I said, I've got my keys out, I went like that. I said, get the car round there, I said, and if he's on a double, he hits it, I'll get straight in the car and we leave it on their toes. So he took the keys. So I went on the, he went, Bob, I said, what? He said, I can't drive. Oh my God, he couldn't drive. 180, 140, 140, I played the best game I ever played.
Yeah, it took us away. Come off the board, you lost.
Now then, and welcome once again to Indo League.
I used to watch it on TV when I was 14. There's a couple of players that I used to play against them, and I knew I was better than them, and I thought, how do I get on there?
Now it's time to go to the darts hockey, where England internationals Alan Glazier and Eric Bristow, Britain's youngest professional, are involved in the first round match. We join it with Bristow to throw.
Eric Bristow, 20-year-old, is the 1977 World Darting Master, and he is loving every moment.
My main strength, mental, nothing bothered me. Crowd didn't bother me.
Doesn't matter what they sing about. I'll play my game, walk away with the money and say good night and God bless.
And there it is, and that is magic darts.
When Eric came along, he sort of brought a show business to it, very much like what Muhammad Ali did to boxing.
I used to love the way he talked to them and tell them what he'd do. But it's okay talking it. It's all right talking the talk, you've got to walk the walk.
Can you hear me or what? I said I'd be the first person to win a major title 2 years, like twice, and I'd done it. And I'm the world #1 now. All right.
My nickname was Crafty Cockney. I got called a few names before, but I couldn't put them on my back.
Love him or loathe him, he's the very best there is at dart play.
Apart from the fact that he was absolutely a brilliant player.
He could be such an absolute soul.
As a dart player, he's got great ability. You can't take that away from him. But as a person, he leaves a lot to be desired, you know what I mean?
He would convince you that you couldn't win.
But when he walked onto the hockey, I imagine he'd had a lot of people beat before he'd thrown the first dart.
You got the 4 big boys playing tonight, and we're going to see who's #1. Don't you worry about that, my mate.
I beat lots of players before I got on the hockey in the practice room. Yeah, I always thought I'd win everything. I told them I would.
I'd stand at the toilet before he went on stage and tell you ask you what time your taxi's picking you.
He just wound people up. But then again, he was likeable.
Great game, wasn't it?
Bristow talked in quotes. Bristow ripped off heads. Bristow kicked ass.
Who is to stop Eric Bristow?
If you're a football fan, you want to be George's best.
If you're a darts fan, you want to be Eric Bristow.
No good looking calm, cool if you can't produce the goods, is it?
I was born at the right time, really, because there was a lot of good dart players before me, but the only dart tournament that was on TV then was the News of the World, which was on once a year. But as I got better, it just grew and grew and grew.
Los años 70 llegaban a su fin y la bravuconería de Bristow había cambiado el juego. Pero por norma general dividía a la opinión pública, divirtiendo a la prensa y sacando de quicio a sus rivales.
We started the World Championship in 1978, and I'd won the World Masters in 77. I was like the best in the world then, and I was favourite to win the first World Championship, knocked out first round. The second year I got beat by Alan Evans, who I didn't like.
I'm going to win this now, and no one's going to touch me.
I wish Eric all the best, but last time I heard him say he's going to win, he got beaten as usual.
As usual.
He had a dislike for Alan Evans, but then again, Alan Evans had a dislike for him.
Alan Evans hated him. Really, really hated him.
Goes forward into the final, and there's Alan Evans. You can see just what he thinks about that.
Alan Evans didn't like Eric, and there was always controversy there when they played each other.
It was a personality clash between the two players.
I've got nothing against the Welsh, but me and Alan Evans never see eye to eye.
Everybody likes to hate him, you see, and he likes people to hate him.
Lowy and Bristow didn't really get on too well.
We don't go out drinking with each other or anything like that.
He didn't like the cockiness of Eric.
John's the pie-eyed boy, and they all want to cheer him on. But I don't care. I just come here to play darts and come here to win, and that's what I want to do.
They probably wondered who this little brash cockney was, because he was right in your face all the time.
And let's hope it turns out to be a low Bristow final. I'm sure that'll be terrific.
I hope so. I'm there, and if I get there, I'll do it.
He thought it could upset me to a degree which would put me off, but he never did.
To me, John was an ultimate professional.
John Lowe was quoted recently as saying that your extrovert reaction to things isn't always good for the sport. What do you mean by that, do you think?
No idea. He just wanted you to play darts, win, shake hands, have a beer afterwards. That was John.
I think the reason Eric plays at the top is a simple reason to win everything I've won and to do everything that I've done. He's not really the ultimate dart player yet, is he?
I think he's a bit jealous, really, because he wants the #1 spot, and I've had the #1 spot for 3 years, and he's been after that this year, and he hasn't got it.
John Lowe used to go up there and hit a double and go, just pull the dart out and walk back. I mean, if they all done that, I mean, no one would come and watch it, would they?
If you led your life yourself and you fancied a little risk, you went for the Maverick, didn't you? And if you was one of those guys that clock in at 9 and clock off at 5 and really don't do anything else, you followed the boring one. It's natural.
Eric would do it, but tell everybody and shout about it all along the way.
Must find the big effort. There's 2 balls. Can we have 3? Yes, we can!
I'd just do it and let people make their own mind up.
There it is. And can he do it again? He can! What can you say? That is unbelievable.
I knew I was going to be world champion. I should have been like a couple of years before. Didn't handle it right. Maybe the pressure got to me. And then the 3rd year, I played Bobby in the final.
Bobby was just the ultimate showman.
He looks like a man who's punched his way through the window of Ratner's with glue all over his fists.
Bobby George has more rings than Elizabeth Taylor.
He makes Liberace look dull, doesn't he?
He bought Razzmatazz.
He had a group of girl fans who went around in hot pants with Bobo written on the cheeks of their bum.
Bobby came along, this big, handsome, 6'1".
Big lad too, isn't he?
Muscles on muscles. Didn't look anything like a dart player.
I wear the glitter. I like pretty things.
He was innovative. It was just not acceptable in the darting world to walk on stage like Liberace.
Different people have got different ways of carrying on. I can't please everyone.
John Lowe didn't like it at all. He said it's terrible for the game. Right? I don't like that. I said, well, you come on with a bowler hat, I'll come on with a cloak. Yeah, we're all different, aren't we?
In the early days, we had a few sort of dust-ups, you know, not face-to-face dust-ups, right? I called him a clown a couple of times, Mickey Mouse.
Many of his fellow pros who say he's a Mickey Mouse player, well, he's been around at the top flight, European singles champion, to prove he's no joke.
Characters create opinions. You might not like it, you might like it, you might think it's cool, you might think it's crass, but you'll have an opinion.
John did his own thing and he wasn't frightened to be unpopular. He thought Bobby was a flash Harry, which he was. And Bobby played on that.
He was on a plane going to Denmark for the Danish Open. And Eric came up to me, I'm sitting in the seat, he went, "You read that, Bo? This paper used to write about darts." I went, "Right. John Lowe, he's going to start a professional union or something. I'm going to ban sequins and clowning about on the hockey because I think it's bad for the game."
Somebody interviewed me, "What do you think of this?" And I just said, "I don't think that's what's happening in darts."
So I went up there on the plane. I said, "What's this?" "What's right?" he said. "So you're going to ban me?" "Well, I don't think it's right for the game." I said, "Well, if I do join, I'm going to put in that we're going to ban false teeth for weeks." He didn't talk to me for 10 years.
I didn't say glitter or anything. That used my words to say I didn't like what he was doing. I don't suppose I did for a while, and it made no answer.
The only professional dart player, well, if you want to call him a professional, Bobby George, he likes to talk all the time. I told him before, don't talk.
He used to wind some people up, which is good, you know, because they give him a bit of an edge then. But he could play darts.
The beginning of darts, for me, was the news of the world.
Put your hands together and welcome the first finalist, Bobby George.
That tournament made me someone.
To me, anybody that does anything that's different, providing they win titles, that's okay.
And he has done it! 15 darts again. Championship stuff from Bobby George. And the News of the World crown is his.
I knocked about with Eric. He was always a bit leery, cocky.
And I can see Bristow saying, "What does it feel like playing the number one in the world?"
In 1980, I played Eric in the final.
I'd won everything else. I won the World Cup singles, I won the World Masters. But that was the one I hadn't won.
I remember coming out of the hotel room and Ollie Croft, who was in charge of the Vídeo, was opposite. And as I came out, he said, "You're not going on stage with that, eh?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Don't you think you've got enough pressure on you? You're in the world final." I went, "Doesn't matter. They won't forget me, will they?"
What people don't realise is Bobby, being a showman, he went in the practice room, he said, "I wrote a poem about you," he says, "and when I beat you, I'm going to read the poem out." I said, "Is that right, Bobby?" So when I beat him, if you look at the replay of it, I shook his hand and I said, "What was the so-and-so poem, mate?" And he went, "Get out of here."
60. He was very short-lived at the very top. His reputation really exceeded his skill at the game.
They said, "Well, you never won BDO World Championship." And I come runner-up twice, but I won the News of the World twice. They haven't.
Bobby George wasn't good enough to win enough. But Bobby George did what he did and made himself famous.
In a way, he's made it by just being Bobby George.
When I look at what I won, then I think I could have won a lot more.
But in the end, he just didn't want to follow it. He didn't want to travel around the world and chase world ranking points.
There's two roads. There's one, loads of pubs in, and no professionals. And this road had loads of pubs, but had a professional in each one. So I took that one. I made sure that I got paid to play.
Right, I'm going to stand here. Say go when you're ready.
Los Dardos habían tocado techo y también Bristow. Después de ganar su quinto y último título mundial en el 86, ya era un nombre muy conocido.
My name used to be Norman Leslie Pask, and 3 years ago I wanted to change my name to Eric Bristow because I think the world of the bloke. So I wrote to the fan club I was in 1981. His secretary wrote back to me at the fan club and says, Eric's manager says Eric wouldn't like a double, so I wrote back and says, can I change my first name to Eric and have Eric's first name? And the fan club wrote back and said, yeah, that's all right, you can change it to Eric. So I was chuffed.
Pero para algunos el omnipresente alcohol y la barriga cervecera no eran políticamente correctos porque definían al deporte. Se podía sacar los dardos del pub, pero no al pub de los dardos.
I like a few Dardos. I don't drink spirits when I'm playing darts, I can't. But a few of the others go a bit over the top.
Have you got a message for Eric?
Jockey, he had everything really. Character, ability.
And that's outrageous. That's outrageous.
He was a brilliant player.
Fierce.
Jockey Wilson will stuff on when I mean that.
Unpredictable.
No, come on, yeah.
Absolutely fierce.
He said what he thought.
Twice I've done them, so you've got your homework to do, haven't you?
He had no teeth. He could bite an apple with his gums. Unbelievable. And he had these teeth made, and I was doing some television thing, and I said, you got your teeth? He went, oh yeah, and he had a woolly jumper on, opened his woolly jumper, put his hand and get his teeth out, put them in, went like that, and he had all bits of fluff over his teeth. Oh my God. He didn't care at all. But that was it, that's where he was.
As soon as he come on, you'd watch. You'd have to watch. You want to see what was going to happen. It's a bit like Alex Higgins.
What a marvellous, marvellous match. Oh, well, Wilson refused the handshake, and that suddenly has soured the whole occasion.
He was our Alex Higgins.
I think Eric always said he was one that he was never sure about, because if Jockey turned up on his top game, he could beat anyone.
Alex could go up and knock balls all over the place and make you look like a fool, and Jockey did that on the dartboard.
He had more bottle than anybody, you know. You could leave him double free for £1 million and it wouldn't bother him. He wouldn't think nothing of it.
180! Slipped behind, but that's an extra 180.
180 machine, and he could hit him from anywhere. And with that action, he actually shouldn't have been any good.
His style was crazy, really. You just wouldn't teach anybody to play darts that way.
He would thrush and snap.
Like that. Put all his shoulder and everything.
He'd throw a dart like I used to throw. Yeah, get in there.
And then they'd still go in.
Boom, straight in.
Jockey Wilson is back in business.
Jockey did everything wrong, and yet it all worked out pretty right.
He was kind of a lovable character, but a bit of a rogue as well.
A lovely guy, but would turn on a sixpence.
Jockey would explode for no reason at all. He used to spend most of his morning after going knocking on hotel doors saying, did I upset you last night?
He was volatile, and he played darts like that as well.
And there it is. And Jockey Wilson's face says it all.
Eric, you said you don't like Jockey Wilson.
Yeah, that's an understatement, yeah.
My mate Jockey, mad as a martyr.
Eric psychologically always got right up Jockey Wilson's kill.
He's nothing but a pig as far as I'm concerned.
Bobby George has said that he's ugly as well. He's got a nose like a ski slope, I think Bobby said.
Yeah, I would say Concord more like it. And I wish somebody else would break it again.
England played Scotland in the World Cup, and I got to play Jockey in the final of the singles. And we're just out there, and they're introducing me first because we're in Scotland.
The crowd's building up, the tension's building up.
And he kicked me straight in the leg.
Right on the shin.
Bang.
You really hate him then?
Yeah, I really do.
And he took the skin off my leg about that far up.
Eric was hobbling around with his blood pouring out of his leg.
And I grabbed hold of him, I'm trying to hit him. These officials are pulling me away from him.
Representing England, Eric Bristow.
And he introduced Jockey Wilson on stage. And I've got to shake his hand. It's live on TV, you know what I mean?
The crowd will try to deter him, but Bristow will not be deterred.
1983.
13 darts
Eric
to win.
Bristow.
And we had a drink afterwards. But just for that little split second, there might have been no World Cup final.
Eric used to wind up Jockey, and Jockey used to respond.
Here we go then. And they wanted the best two dart players in the world for a special challenge match. They got me as one, but they had to put up with Jockey for the other. So don't forget to watch.
You might think he's number one, but just wait till Saturday comes, we'll show him who's number one.
When we did Edinburgh, that was pandemonium. Eric was on top in the game.
He's got the second one. He wants the ball to finish.
Oh, what a finish from Eric Bristow.
And of course, the Scots crowds were baying as only Scottish crowds can.
Not a resourceful start.
They were then throwing cans of beer.
And this really is very disappointing.
Eric said after, couldn't have been a Scots crowd because they're full cans.
Wilson is shaking his head and apologising for his countrymen.
He was the people's champion, you know, and people loved him because he was one of them.
He'd win, he'd lose, he'd want to fight, he'd cry, he'd be drunk, he'd be sober.
I'll tell you something. Tonight, Eric, and it hurts me very much. He is number one, and I'm very disgusted with myself.
What you saw with Jockey, you actually saw the whole of his life opening up in front of you.
And there was nothing arrogant or flamboyant. You know, give Jockey 20 fags and a whiskey, and he was as happy as anybody. You know, he was a very simple human being who was just amazingly talented at darts.
To win the World Championship twice, you can't be lucky. Anyone can win it once. You can have that. To win it twice, you've proved the point.
He smokes a lot. I mean, he did smoke a lot. You know, I used to share a room with him. And I used to wake up to go to the toilet in the night and I couldn't even find the door. It was full of smoke. He used to go to sleep and then every 10 minutes you never use a light, use matches. And then he'd snore and then another 10 minutes light another one. He used to chain smoke at night when he was asleep. It's unbelievable. And he used to drink too much.
He was actually quite quiet behind the scenes. But once he got, you know, a drink down him, that was his downfall in the end.
I mean, that's why he's drunk, been drinking all night, you see.
What's that? I don't drink.
10 seconds, Jockey.
I know you are.
Liked to drink.
Or 10.
And found it very difficult to control it.
Jockey was an accident on legs.
The more he drank, the better he got. I couldn't understand it.
And the players used to say, yeah, can he do that? You know, he's been backstage, he's just knocked back 12 pints of lager and half a bottle of scotch, and he's slinging it in treble 20 for fun.
I remember one day he was playing in the embassy and he said to me, get me a vodka and coke on the stage. So I said, when I done, he said, get me a pint, he said. Do you know he drank that in that game?
In the end, he tried to beat the barman. You can't beat the barman. I mean, the barman will beat you every time. He's going to walk home, you'll fall home.
And they were earning thousands of pounds. And that was probably his undoing.
Jockey was just a normal guy. He had a hard upbringing. I was in a home and whatever else. He had a hard life.
When he retired, he was obviously not well. He went to his house and never came out. He didn't want to face anything anymore.
I don't think he liked Jockey Wilson. If somebody laughed in a corner at somebody telling a joke, Jockey would think they was talking about him.
He had laid his soul open to the nation through the television networks for years, and people had shared his moments because the vulnerability of the man was there. There was no BS.
The people put it in the papers that me and him hate each other, and
we do.
No, the only time we hate each other is when we play darts against each other, because obviously you've got a clash of characters.
He didn't realise how many people did like him.
But we all miss him.
Take nothing away from Jockey Wilson. Me and him will be there for years to come. We're the best.
All I can.
He burned the candle at both ends, as they say, and the middle, and the sides.
You've got to clear the hall. Have a safe journey home. Good night, and God bless every one of you. Thank you very much.
I mean, there were glory days in those days.
The honour, the MBE, and the player who'll be going to the Palace to receive it. A very big welcome for Eric Bristow.
But there was also problems looming.
The critics have been very unkind to you this morning, haven't they?
Yes, I don't think they like me very much.
They didn't see the bigger picture of this is a sport played by millions and enjoyed by tens of millions. And the characters almost worked against themselves.
Really, you're putting your reputation on the line every time you go on the stage. And we did have a few players that got up on TV and were drunk, which is stupid.
It was the demise of World of Sport on ITV that started the decline.
And all of a sudden, sponsors said, well, we've had enough of darts now, and started to pull out.
Within 3 or 4 years, we went from 15 or 16 tournaments a year to 2.
All of a sudden, the brewery deals were going down to 40 shows a year, so it's my income, it's my livelihood.
Our managers were obviously getting concerned.
So these managers got together with the manufacturers and the players. We've got to do something.
We just asked Ollie Croft 3 questions, really. We said to him, can you guarantee us more than 2 tournaments? And he said, no. Would you mind if we'd done our own TV tournament? He said, yes. And then the next question, well, OK, if we do our own TV tournaments, right, what would happen? And he said, we'd ban you.
It came to the point where we had to stand up.
So we played that World Championship at Lakeside, and that was the end, and then we pulled away.
This year's official World Championship has attracted none of the sport's familiar faces. The row over television coverage means the stars of the hockey will be holding their own contest next week in a battle to determine just who rules the sport.
16 players whose life really depended on darts took the risk of walking away from the established tournament because they felt so strongly that it should be done better and they felt they were entitled to more.
You're in! Brilliant showing!
I was world number 1 at the time. We did the split. We all got banned. You couldn't get an exhibition anywhere.
Then they started picking us off. They offered Mike Gregory, you can come back, play for England, we'll get you 80 exhibitions. And he went back. And they said to Chrissy Johns, come back, you know what I mean? And he went back. So it was down to 14. So everybody's looking at each other, everybody's ringing around at each other. Who's next? You know what I mean? We're getting picked off here, but we all stuck together.
Predijeron el futuro y cambiaron el deporte. Eran rebeldes, todos y cada uno de ellos, incluido tú, Lowy.
The 14 players did take a big risk, but for the top pros, it was a risk worth taking.
They gambled everything, and that is typical of a maverick. A maverick doesn't make the same logical decision as a business person or someone like me.
If it hadn't worked, the chances were they would go back to being milkmen and playing in a pub team. It could have been the end of commercially promoted darts.
There were 2 world champions. A bit like boxing.
You need personalities involved in sport, but behind those personalities, like building a house, you love a lovely house, the foundation has to be right. That's the nuts and bolts of business. But again, without the personalities, it's like there's no roof on the house.
En 1994 nació la nueva era de los dardos. Un enfoque más logrado y un paso más decidido. Sin embargo, los rebeldes seguían teniendo que pelear por lo suyo.
Although they had the backing of Sky, there was a distinct danger that the PDC wouldn't be able to keep going.
Well, we did the World Championship at Circus Tavern, and it was 6 months before we got any money, because they didn't have any money to pay us.
We need the money, of course we do. We're all working men at the end of the day.
We all had to put so much in. Some players couldn't put anything in because they didn't have any.
But we knew at the end there was a product there. It certainly had the potential to do something better than what it was.
It was then that they invited Barry Hearn to the Circus Tavern. He looked around and said, I smell money.
Within a year, they had 3 or 4 TV tournaments, bigger prize money, bigger profile, and created what we now have today.
Once upon a time, it was boxing. Took a guy out of the gutter. Now it is darts. This is now the working man's escape. You only have to look at Phil Taylor.
Taylor ha dominado el mundial en 16 ocasiones.
Ordinary bloke making bog handles of the pottery for 40 quid a week. He has become a multi-millionaire.
The Phil Taylor era, although it was horrific to play in, what a privilege to watch and be part of.
The audience has taken over with darts. It's become an event to participate in and to be seen in the crowd.
As soon as there's a darts tournament on, bang, they're all there. Tickets gone. Incredible.
How long did it take the promoters of darts to realise that if they encouraged the audience to look great, you wouldn't notice that the bloke was actually a plumber from Stockport who's great at throwing little arrows at a board?
Simplistic things in today's high-powered, high-tech world have a huge appeal. Isn't that funny?
Even we were surprised at the impact it's had. It has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's rock and roll.
Is it fair to say that the sport has become more successful because the sport is maverick?
To an outsider, darts may appear a maverick sport, but actually when you scrape the surface, you'd be surprised that we've taken lots of different sports and moulded it into one to appear to be maverick, but actually it's a huge volume entertainment evening that's not so maverick at all. And there's the maverick twist of all maverick twists. When you can appear to be what you're not and make a fortune by being what you are, then whether you're called maverick or not really doesn't upset the bank manager.
Of everything that Barry's done and the PDPA have done and everything else, it's all positive. The only negative thing in darts is you've got someone fining somebody for having a personality or saying something they shouldn't.
The game is a professional, big-time, money-making, profitable commercial success, and they've responded to it.
They have the DRA, the Darts Regulatory Authority thing. I used to have a standing order with them. They're going to eventually, they're just going to create 32 robots because they'll be frightened to breathe.
What we need is we need characters to come through.
Today they don't want to talk about each other. And if they do, they get upset. You need a bit of fun in it.
You tell me when you're ready. I am ready.
If the DRA was around in Eric's time, we wouldn't have had Eric.
Testing.
You certainly wouldn't have had Jockey. I'm not saying that we don't want to see people drunk or behaving badly, but it's good, isn't it?
You would argue that we have seen the very, very best in the world.
The veterans have a very special place in the affection of the British public.
And in the final, I played bloody magic.
Bobby George has said that he's got a nose like a ski slope.
And I wish somebody else would break it again.
Without Bobby, we wouldn't have Peter Wright.
I've done some shows with him recently and he's still got his cape. He's in his element.
Sometimes it takes 5 minutes to get to the stage.
His watches and his jewellery and his... a part of him now. He has to come on to We Are the Champions, whether he is or not.
I can tell you now that these two are still at it 35 years later.
If you think of Eric, how he's kept his popularity, being in the jungle, kept himself on TV. And maybe kept himself in the newspapers for other things.
The first time I met Eric, he was an arrogant, irresponsible genius. And the past 8 years have made him nothing more than an arrogant, irresponsible genius.
Without Eric darts, we wouldn't have the Premier League, we wouldn't have big tournaments. He just changed the rules.
There are, what, 60,000 pubs and clubs in Britain? Eric Bristow can walk into any one of those clubs and will be recognised.
You don't realise what you start. We loved the game, we played darts, we just didn't know where it was going to go.
So I always say the best dart player of all time was Phil Taylor, but the most well-known dart player is Eric Bristow.
I've done a lot for the game. Anyone talks about darts all over the world, they talk about Eric Bristow.
Pioneer's the word.
Let's just say he's not the gentleman of the game, is he?
I can't please everyone. And the game owes them everything.
They were a journalist's dream.
What you got was what you got. And that was the openness that exists with all mavericks. Some would say they don't have the brains to be anything else. Others would just say they don't give a monkeys. I like the second version.